Hey, what's up, cats and kittens, and shout out to all my Cerebralites. It is me, the Cerebral Diva, and I'm back with another episode of You Say What. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, You Say What is your opportunity to chime in, to leave your 2 cents, and to be a part of the discussion that is happening here on my channel within my community of Cerebralites. Having said that, before you go another further, do yourself a favor, and while you're at it, do me a solid. Take a second to hit that subscribe button. Once you've done that, take another second to hit that tiny little bell so you can turn on your notifications, and that way you'll be kept in the loop so you won't miss a thing. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Queen's Court today. Now, let me preface this by saying I try to stay out of other people's business because I have too much of my own to tend to, but this particular situation is one that I've been watching sort of take shape over the internet for the past week or so, so I just wanted to add my 2 cents to this gumbo. So with that being said, the Queen's Court, this is a podcast that's been started by T.S. Madison and Khia, aka Thug Mrs. So the two of them have a long-standing friendship. And maybe about a year ago, maybe a year and change ago, I saw a video on T.S. Madison's channel where she had Khia over, and Khia was just going on these rants, and people were calling in, and Khia was just roasting these people for absolutely no reason. And it was really entertaining and funny to watch because Khia is sort of immutably rude, and it makes for really good TV. So anyhow, because of that, at some point it looks like the two of them decided that people were so entertained by it that it might be a good idea to start a podcast of their own, which happened to be a fantastic idea because it took off like wildfire. So the Queen's Court started maybe 2 months ago, not very long, but in 2 months it has made waves over the internet. I mean, it's all over the place. Sound bites are pretty much every place you can think of. So their impact has been very, very strong and very, very quick. Now, with success comes a lot of challenges. So, and if you haven't seen the Queen's Court, basically it's a show that centers around T.S. Madison and Khia roasting celebrities. Now, I'm going to tell you guys the truth, and I'm going to be completely and blatantly honest. And if you're a fan of T.S. Madison, you may not like what I have to say, but I am going to be honest because I'm just going to call it like I see it. Excuse me. When I watched the show, Khia is essentially the show. Khia is the one who is clever. She's quick on her feet. She's the one that you tune into because she's irreverent. She's disrespectful. She really doesn't have a filter, so she pretty much says what she wants to say, and that's what people tune in to hear. Madison is a little bit more reserved, a little bit more thoughtful, a bit more tactful in her approach towards celebrities because I think that she's just, I don't know, maybe she's just a more sensitive human being. But we don't tune in for sensitivity. We tune in because we want to hear Khia say something that we wouldn't dare say. And so that's why people watch the show. So as I've been watching the show over the past couple of weeks, I kept saying to myself, Madison needs to step it up because Khia is essentially taking over the show. She is becoming the show. She is the reason why people tune in. Now, as I watched the last couple episodes, I could see that Madison was doing some more sort of physical comedy and antics to try to add a little bit more value to the show on her own end. However, with that being said, it was still Khia who was really carrying the weight of the show. So when I was watching the show, I kept saying to myself, this friendship that they have, they kept calling each other sis, sis this, sis that. And I find that when people do that, I don't know if it's, for me personally, it just feels a little disingenuous when people call people cousin or brother or hey sister. It's just like if it's your sister or your brother, you don't have to proclaim that every time you reach out to them. Just say hi Darren, hi Christine, whatever your brother or sister's respective names might be. But that whole, calling people by their familial relation thing that people do in this day and age is just so weird to me. But anyway, they kept calling each other hey sis, but it just seemed really forced. And so as I was watching the show, I kept saying, at some point, if Madison doesn't step up her game, Khia is going to find a reason to move on and create her own show. Now, let's talk about what happened recently. So about maybe 2 episodes ago, there was the incident that happened with Monique and Netflix. And Monique, for those of you who don't know, basically asked every person of color to boycott Netflix because she felt like they had come in and essentially insulted her with a lowball bid for a comedy special. So the Queen's Court They created a docket, and Monique wound up on the docket, and they were discussing her on the show and about how they weren't boycotting Netflix, how she was ridiculous, how she needed to humble herself, and they basically went in on Monique for about 15 or 20 minutes. So, Academy Award winning actress and comedian Monique got wind of this show, The Queen's Court, and said that she might have to go on there. So, no one thought that Monique would actually go on the show. You know, when people think that this is a sort of a haphazard show that's filmed in someone's basement, you know, she's an Academy Award winning actress. You know, for her to go on the Queen's Court seemed a little lowbrow, if I'm being completely honest. But Monique, realizing that this show, The Queen's Court, is going to reach her core audience, she made a smart decision and decided, hey, I'm going to take a chance and go on this show. So they have Monique lined up to appear on the show, and this happened last week, last Monday. And when they're trying to get Monique on the show, basically everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. The Skype wasn't working, the lighting was bad, the production was just not worthy of the caliber of guests that they had. So Khia and Madison were in the process of hosting the show, but as the technical difficulties continued, Khia ultimately got up and walked off the set. Now, when she walks off the set, Madison is essentially there, you know, begging and pleading, you know, Khia, come back, let's just get through it. And Khia, basically, she comes back for a second, and then she ultimately walks off and leaves. So now, this is my whole thing. I just want to say this when it comes to that particular incident. I don't understand why they didn't just cut production. Just cut it off. You know, if you don't want people to talk about things, don't give people something to talk about. And when you spend, you know, upwards of 2 hours a week roasting celebrities, talking about people, their deficiencies, their issues, you know, you have to be a little bit more, excuse me, a little bit more contrived, a little bit more calculated in terms of what information you share with people. So if I were in that position and my show was not, the production of it was sort of drowning, so to speak, I would have just cut to commercial. Let's cut it. We'll come back next week and let that be that. So that way people only have a tiny little snippet of the debacle that happened next week and not a whole half hour worth of footage of you scrambling to try to create or to try to save a fledgling show. So anyhow, Khia walks off the set. So now that she's walked off the set, the past couple of weeks, or I shouldn't say the past couple of weeks, the past week, there's been some sort of exchanges, some subtle exchanges between Madison and Khia. Basically, Khia saying that, you know, she doesn't mess with them anymore and that she's not going to be appearing on the show. And the only time you're going to see her with Madison is when she's contractually obligated, essentially absolving that entire relationship and saying, look, I'm done. I wash my hands of it. Now, I think that this production thing was not as big as Khia is making it out to be. You know, and let's put this into perspective. The Queen's Court is like the #1 and #2 podcast on Apple. That is huge. And this is a show that they just basically just put together out of absolutely nowhere. You know, they don't necessarily have, well, they have some sort of sponsorship that they do weekly. But this is a show that they created from their own blood, sweat, and tears, their own sweat equity. And it's been hugely successful. And so I think what's happening is that either people are getting in Khia's ear, or that Khia is watching and reading the comments, or that Khia is seeing the sound bites, and she realizes that, hey, I don't need Madison to do this. People are really tuning in to see me. Why am I allowing Madison to piggyback off of my my intellect, off of my wit, so to speak? And so now that I have an opportunity to walk away and create my own show, and I've garnered this following off of T.S. Madison's platform, basically she's taking a position of thanks, sucker. Thanks for allowing me to use your platform to propel my own show, but I'm out of here. I can do this by myself. So may the best personality win is basically what it seems like Khia, the disposition that she seems to have taken. So I don't see Khia returning to this show. Maybe I'm wrong, but in essence, I think that Khia has found an opportunity and a platform and a voice that she didn't have a year ago or even a few months ago. And to a large degree, she owes that to T.S. Madison. And now that she has it, she's done what a lot of people do, they use you for your worth, and then once they've sucked the life out of you, they don't really see any need to have you around. So that's really my take on it. This is You Say What, so I want to know what you guys have to say and what you think about what's happening over the Queen's Court, and whether or not you think T.S. Madison and Khia will actually reunite. And that concludes this episode. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, and please share if you feel so inclined. Remember to follow me across all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Also remember, it is better to be pissed off than it is to be pissed on. And it's always, in closing, people, remember to live better, love harder, and think smarter. It is me, the Cerebral Diva. I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day, and as always, thank you for listening.